Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of Seeking Discovery. We've got another exciting day out here at the bus. The temperatures in Florida finally dipped a little bit, so it's perfect building weather. It's in the mid-70s. And today, we're going to be cutting some holes in our roof of the bus. And you may be thinking, why on earth would we be doing that? Well, I just got this in the mail this week. And it is my new fan, which will go in above the kitchen. And I got a model that can both blow air in and suck air out. So if I'm cooking, I can use it as an exhaust fan, or I can pump fresh air in through the ceiling and have it go out the windows or things like that, or one of the other roof hatches. So ultimately what I'm going to do is I need to measure out the opening for this, which it should be a standard 14 by 14 opening. And then I will use a drill to drill out the corners and a jigsaw to ultimately go and cut out that square. Once it's cut out, we'll get it rough fit in, and then we'll add some beetle tape, we'll get it all attached, and then we'll come back and caulk all around those edges to make sure it's really watertight. So let's just jump right in and start measuring out on the ceiling and get ready to put some holes in this roof. So the first thing we need to do is get this box open so that we can see what's inside, so we know what we're working with. Ultimately, we've got our first hatch here, which will stay open in between the living room and the kitchen. And then this fan will actually go back in this panel here. So I've already got the electrical roughed in for it and have an idea of where I want it. So let's make sure everything's in the box and keep moving from there. If you decide to build your own bus, one thing that you're going to notice is it's going to feel like Christmas all the time because you're always ordering stuff from the internet, because it's hard to get some of this stuff locally depending on where you're at. And specifically getting fans like this, you could go to an RV store, but I found it was cheapest on Amazon. So if you guys are interested in this model, I'll put a link in the description below. I have used one of these on one of my other builds when I converted a cargo trailer into a mobile escape room, and it worked really well. So that's why I went with Fantastic Fan, and I'm looking forward to getting this installed in the bus and see how it works in here. So there's just some packing material we're going to pull out. And I decided to go with the smoky cover so that there's not too much light that's let in. I don't want that heat coming through, but it should provide some extra light, which is really nice. And then on the bottom side, you can see it's got the manual knob to open and close it. We've got our in or out reverse switch, and then our dial to control the speed. So this is a unit that will go on top of the bus and be attached. And then, oh, it's stuck, let me grab it out. We've got some extra wiring in here, our self-tapping screws, things like that. Always important to check your instruction manual, especially when you're cutting holes in the roof of something that you don't want to leak. And sorry about the background noise if you guys hear that. Caleb's working on a project over in the garage. And then we've got this shroud here, which this is what will help give it a nice, pretty finish in the bus. So this will go up into the ceiling and on the finished ceiling when everything's said and done. So that's what this is ultimately going to be for. So let's take a look at our instructions, see exactly what we need to do, and get stuff ready to start marking out, drilling, and cutting that opening. Okay, so we're by the panel that ultimately the fan will be installed in. I measured it, and it'll fit a standard 14 by 14 hole like I thought. So I've got my tape measure. I'm going to measure out my spacing here and try to get it as centered as best as possible, especially because the stove is pretty much centered with it. So that's going to be the goal. Measure out our hole, pre-drill the corners, and then climb up on top with the jigsaw and cut out the square. So I'm just going to come in with my triangle as a straight edge to connect the dots. Here we go. We got our square cut out. I'm going to cut or drill 4 holes in the corners, and then I'm going to go on the roof and cut it out with the jigsaw. Always make sure when you're doing stuff overhead, have your safety glasses on for sure. And there we go. Again, because I was drilling overhead, I do have metal flakes on me, so I'm gonna carefully brush those off and then get ready to go on the roof. So the big camera's downstairs, so bear with me as I'm on my phone, but you can see we've got our 4 holes here. That one was a little bit off, so I drew where the corner should be. So now that I've got it kind of mapped out on here, I've got a jigsaw with a metal cutting bit. And now I'm gonna go ahead and make my first cut. And just a side note, when I'm working on the roof, I do keep my weight over the ribs of the bus, just because that's where it's the most rigid and supportive. So I'm kneeling on there right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out. Now that 3 sides are cut, it started flapping a bunch, so Kayla brought me a board to stick in there to help secure it so I could finish this last cut. Okay, so now that we've got our new hole cut in the roof here, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take some mineral spirits, go up on the ceiling, scrub the roof where I'm going to use butyl tape around the entire opening so that the flange of the fan pushes into it and creates a good seal. And once it's secure, then I'll come back with caulk, and I'm going to caulk around the edge in addition to the butyl tape, which will hopefully give us a watertight seal up there. So we've got the hole cut, and now the butyl tape is on, so it's time to put the fan in and use the self-tapping screws to secure it. We've got our supplies, we've got the screws that came with it, we've got our impact driver, and the butyl tape's down. So now we just need to set the fan in and attach it to the ceiling. So I've got it set in and pressed down on the butyl tape, so now we're going to put the screws in. Well, as you guys can see here behind me, we've got the ceiling fan installed. I took the wires and ran it into the bus electrical panel just to test it out. It does work both forward and reverse to blow air in or suck air out. So I'm really excited that the fan is in, and I can't wait till I have regular power in here to be able to use it more frequently. So that pretty much wraps up today's projects. Once I got this caulked, I used the leftover caulk to hit the outlets I had installed as well on the exterior of the bus. So if you guys like these kinds of videos, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Leave a comment below if you guys have any questions, or tell me what you want to see next in the bus build. And if you haven't done so already, I would really appreciate if you guys would be willing to subscribe and come along on this journey as I convert this school bus into a tiny house. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.